afternoon. My name is Juergen Steinmetz, joining you as always from Honolulu, Hawaii. And with me is Peter Tarlow in College Station, Texas. And guess what? Today is July 4th, and we're celebrating Independence Day in the United States, Peter. This is the same you have in Texas, the same you'll find in New York and Guam, in all our 50 states, and Puerto Rico, and in American Samoa, and the Northern Mariana Islands, all the way to the US Virgin Islands. So everyone now has a day off, and not only on Sunday, but also on Monday, because we can't get enough of independent days.
Right. Plus, and Sunday, you normally don't get a day off, so they made it so you get July 5th too, so that at least everybody gets a day off, which means this is a very long weekend because a lot of people took Friday off. So they have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's probably going to be, I believe this year will be in travel, the first time in quite a while that we've gone beyond pre-COVID numbers. And we're now going to be doing a whole different world. I'm going to be leaving on tomorrow on July 5th for the Middle East, and I'll be calling you in from there. But I think today is really a day just to talk about how great and so many interesting things there are to see in the United States, and what a wonderful place it is once hopefully COVID has gone away and we're back to normal, that people can really travel. I see in your background, we see a picture of Hawaii. It's probably Waikiki Beach. I have in my background here pictures of the wildflowers of Texas. Texas is in the springtime just filled with wildflowers, and do you have beaches? We have flowers. But really, in every part of the United States, there's something special to see. And so I think today we should be a celebration in that sense. And it's also, I think, if you think about the fabric of the United States, think about how we have people from so many different countries and so many different cultures that somehow we combine together and we work pretty well together without killing each other. So because you think about it, it's not easy to have people. We have people from Europe and from Africa and from Latin America, and pulling them all together into one country, it's not such an easy process. So if this had been a different time, you would have been in Germany, God knows where I would have been, and maybe we wouldn't be friends. But because we're here, we're both able to have friendship, work together, and really out of many create one country.
Yeah, we can see this in all our states. I can see it here in Hawaii. Everything is in so many different languages. We focus obviously here more on Asia, while in most parts of the country, Spanish is almost integrated within the English language. And the difference really in the United States compared to other regions like in Europe or in Africa or in Asia is that all these different cultures come together and they become Americans.
Right.
So it's a culture what is made and put together by many other cultures, except of course for Native Americans, for Native Hawaiians. So we have some of this, but in 99% or 95% of, I would say, probably of our population is really not a Native population.
It's or at least many generations. You're right. I call the United States the land of the second chance, because so many people came here broken. Certainly in my family, that was true many generations ago. And so many families if it hadn't been for the United States giving them a chance, they never would have that opportunity. And the other thing, and I think your point is really well taken about this country, is that if I were to go to Europe, let's say if I were to go to Croatia or to, I don't know, Bulgaria, Romania, I might get citizenship, but I would never really be a Bulgarian or Romanian or a Croatian. But if a Croatian or Romanian or Bulgarian comes to the United States, you know what? They're Americans once they get citizenship, and their children are certainly Americans. So in less than one generation, you're like everybody else. And you leave your past behind. It doesn't mean you want to forget it, but you move on and you create something that we can all enjoy, and we're all part of the same country. And that's a really big deal. Very few places in the world have ever succeeded in doing that.
Yeah, and it is important to actually, and you, this is the nice thing. I mean, you're not only allowed, you're encouraged to keep your culture alive. And we find so many different groups of from people that came here from different countries and from different cultures, and they're still pretty much alive. So that's I think this is like kind of the American dream combined for everyone. And as you rightfully say, for many coming to this country is a second chance of something.
Yeah.
So
I tell people all the time, nobody, especially maybe a few people who, like you, immigrated from Europe, but most people, why did they come here? They were either religious rejects, or they were economic failures, or they were social rejects, or political rejects, and they were basically thrown out. I remember a woman in Massachusetts said to me, you know, my family came here before yours. And I said, madam, that just means they threw your family out of Europe before they threw mine. This people come here because often they need a new start, a new place. And this is a place that gives you that opportunity. We don't hold you back from your history. Instead, we let you build on it, but then create a new history too.
yeah, many people in the world don't realize how big this country is and how diverse this country is. I remember the times when I lived in Europe, pretty much everyone thought about New York. And there's a lot, you know, New York is a wonderful state. Everyone comes together, but there's a lot more than New York in this country.
Oh, a lot more. And you think in distance, it is further from New York to Honolulu than it is from New York to London.
Oh, by far, it's double the almost twice the distance.
You know, you think about the fact that it's 3,000 miles, 3,000 miles, about 5,000 kilometers from New York to London or New York to Los Angeles. But when you get to Los Angeles, you still got another 2,000 miles to go, 3,000 kilometers until you get to Hawaii. And we're not even talking Guam or Puerto Rico or the Virgin Islands. So just the continental United States is bigger than most of Europe.
And it's true. We are neighbors with many countries. You know, if you look in Alaska, we're neighbors with Russia. So
Yes.
we, you know, hopefully this
You can actually see from one part of the Aleutian Islands, you can see Russia. Now it's
we heard that before.
yes, and that's true. Of course, that was, you know, an issue of the media making a bunch of lies. But it is true that from Aleutian, just like we can see Mexico from the borders of Texas, or we can see Canada or the Canadian falls from the borders of New York. But yes, Russia is extraordinarily close to one or two very small parts of Alaska. And the fact that you can see it shows you just how close it is. It's not the other end of the world, it's close. And yeah, I mean, you go from the ice caps of the northern Alaska to very hot weather in Florida or southern Texas. That's a lot of climatic changes.
And it's a small world after all. I mean, we brought a lot to the world. If you look at Walt Disney, to start with, everyone in the world is copying a lot what we have been, or what Walt Disney has been created in bringing this world together in a nice form, in a pleasant form. And if you look at our movie industry and film industry, there's no one else in the world even coming close to what has been achieved here in this industry. So we have a lot we contribute to the world. And
of course, one of them that we contributed to the world is the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine. And those vaccines, how many people have they saved around the world?
Well,
Doesn't
just
mean
to be fair, as a German American, Pfizer is actually a joint project with Germany, but
it was,
of course it's under American license. Yes.
but it's under American license and it was paid for basically by the United States. Um, and of course, just to be fair, the head of Pfizer, the head scientist for Pfizer, is a Jewish person from Greece. So he's a Greek Jew, and the head doctor for Moderna is a Jewish person from Israel. So basically, we say it's a German, Jewish, Greek, American combination, and that's really what the United States is again. It's just a bunch of people coming together, working for a common good, and creating, in record time, a vaccine that saved God knows how many thousands or hundreds of thousands of lives. So we're not done with COVID-19 yet, but we're beginning to see light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, yeah, and that's of course, COVID has brought this entire world into a kind of a state we probably would have never expected.
Yes. And I was very happy we had here in Texas mainly the Moderna, and now they've announced that the Delta strain is Moderna is if you've been vaccinated with Moderna, that you're also been vaccinated against the Delta strain. And I would not be surprised if that's not also true for Pfizer. But that means already look how far we've come. And I think that's a real sign of, for tourism. I mean, we talk about tourism. You can come to the United States and see anything you would want. Big cities, mountains, snow, hot weather, beaches. If it exists in the world, it probably exists in this country.
And I think what is also fair, there's, the world goes on, and news media, of course, is picking up all the exciting hot stories, and these are not always the nicest story, but there's a lot of nice things going on in this country, and we actually have a lot of nice people in this country. We don't have not everyone is running around with a gun shooting people, and not everyone is a terrorist. I think this is just a handful of people that can make a lot of noise. I think 99.9% of all Americans are people that
living their lives every day.
Love this country, that love visitors, and that are probably some of the, I think, really, if you compare with many parts in the world, we're one of the most friendliest people in the world.
Absolutely, absolutely. And on top of that, Americans are incredibly generous. Generous for their time, generous in we're a country, even our military really doesn't conquer. I mean, it took a long time to get out of Afghanistan, but we're even out of Afghanistan now. And, when we send military, it's to help people. It's not to conquer people. But I think when you go to this country, I used to, when I would lecture, and I've lectured in all 50 states, I tell people all the time, every town has a story. There's something special. I remember I was in a place called Burnett, Texas. It's a little town. And they told me there's nothing here to see. So I said, let me wander around. And sure enough, I found the guy who had made shoes for every president of the United States since Harry Truman. And he was had made shoes and hats, boots. And then I found another man who recycled garbage and turned it into art. And then I found another guy, and all of a sudden I said, wow, look at this little town of maybe 2,000 people in the middle of Texas. And yet here's a whole story of different creativity that it's so easy to miss. And when you travel that way and you start talking to people and visiting those things, you realize there's no city in America, maybe in the world, but certainly in America, that doesn't have a story to tell. And one of the nice things about tourism is it's like peeling back an onion. You're able, there's a layer under layer under layer. And I think that's really what Independence Day, in a lot of senses, it's a chance for us to peel back those layers and see the country for the beauty that it is.
Idaho Falls is so charming. There's nothing like the great outdoors to bring you that inner peace and that calm. So if you were to drive 2 hours in this direction, you'd end up in West Yellowstone. And then, say you want to drive 2 hours in that direction, well, you'd end up in Grand Teton National Park. And then about an hour and a half, right in this direction, would land you at Craters of the Moon. So right in the middle of all these beautiful natural wonders, you find this hidden gem. And it's been quite the relaxing morning. Now I'm ready for some adventure.
She's one of our pretty females, and Nigel back there with his old man card down the middle of his back. He is actually one of our...
There is so much to do at Yellowstone Bear World, but by far my favorite is feeding the baby bears. How cute is that? So I started my day in such a peaceful and tranquil way, but remember I said I was looking for some adventure? Well, I think I found it. For my trip out west, I wanted to find something a little off the beaten path, and I think I found that right here in the charming town of Idaho Falls.
Yeah, and let's hope this is going to be the case, and it's really what America is about. It's about working together, living together, and yes, we do have a lot of issues these days. Many people say we're a divided country, but we're really not that divided if you really put it all together. You know, some people
Most
think
Americans
we're divided. You know, I know you and I, we see different philosophies in a number of ways, but we're not divided. We're friends, you know?
No, and even though you're usually wrong, I still love you. So and that's really the ability to put politics behind. Certainly July 4th should be put politics behind, and to see people for who they are and for the goodness of their heart, rather than make our voices a little bit lower and make our hearts a little bit more open. I think that's really an important message for July 4th, the 4th of July. This was a day we never planned to become a country. We were under a terrible British occupation, and it just kind of happened that the British forced our hand. But you know what? Once we did it, we decided to create an experiment. The first time, really, that it was decided you don't need a king, you don't need a queen, people can govern themselves. And we would have to learn how to, as messy and as hard as that is, we would learn how to become a self-governing people that would open our doors to anyone else who wanted to live our dream. And that's really, really makes the United States an exceptional place.
And if you really look at what our forefathers did in inventing our Constitution, this really hasn't changed that much.
No, very little.
There are parts, and sometimes I wonder, and maybe you and I, we again have different opinion. You know, it's that everyone is allowed to have a gun, and there's no other country in the world where it's like this. So a lot of things haven't changed, but if you look back and see what worked and didn't work, for the most part, what we've done worked.
Yeah, and this is actually a pretty nice place to be, and because of that, there's still millions of people around the world who want to come here, and that's maybe the most important thing, because you have a lot more people who want to come to live here than people who want to leave. And again, you could leave. You know, there's nobody at the gate saying you can't go out of the United States, but people from all over the world want to live here. And that's, again, I think the important part of the beauty of really, it's not just a country, it's a continent. And we really do go from sea. We actually go not just from sea to shining sea, we go from sea past the sea, over to the other side of the ocean. So, this is a huge country. And I hope all our listeners will come on, I don't expect you to celebrate the 4th of July with us per se, but I hope you'll appreciate it a little bit. And I hope that maybe when COVID restrictions are finally gone, and let's hope that the faster the better, that we'll be able to receive many people from around the world, and they'll come and enjoy their time with us and have a good time, from Disneyland to the Arctic Circle, from Boston's history to the movies of Los Angeles, to Hawaii's beaches, to you name it, to Washington's monuments. Have a great time and then go home.
Yeah, and you're a nice thing here about Hawaii, and I have to brag. We used to be a kingdom, and you still have a palace, and you still have a king and a queen. So you don't even have to leave your kingdom at home. You can see it right here.
That's right. So if you can go, and Texas, of course, was an independent country, and the motto of Texas is we're like a whole other country. So when you come to the United States, you really get to go to 50 countries in one, because each state has a unique culture, a unique way of doing things. And that's the brilliance of federalism, that we have a commonality, but yet on the other hand, we understand local control, and that people are able to somewhat govern their own lives. So sometimes we make mistakes. It's not always perfect. It's messy, but that's what life is. No, life is never perfect. Life is always a challenge. So maybe this is a nice way to end for Independence Day. And I guess the next time I will be broadcasting with you from the Middle East. But right now, I always want to wish everybody a very happy Independence Day. And wherever you are in the world, know that we send greetings from the United States.
Yeah, and aloha from this part of the United States. And I also wish everyone a happy 4th. I know a lot of people here in Hawaii celebrate the 4th. We have record tourism arrivals, what is, I guess, a good sign after all what we went through. So the world, is looking a little bit more sunny today.
Sure is.
Just let's keep it like this.
Sure. And we're having here a big party with a traditional American of corn on the cob, hot dogs, sauerkraut, mustard, watermelon, coleslaw. And if you notice, it's American, but every one of those things comes from a slightly different part of the world. And we kind of mushed it all together and declared it an American holiday, an American food. So.
And I sent you some pineapples to add to it.
Terrific. Hawaii has great pineapples. Okay.
All right.
Take care. Have a happy holiday. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.